Let's get to work with David Shipley, investigative journalist, regularly helps us out with a variety of issues. David, always good to see you. Thank you for coming on. I mean, it is one of those, it's sort of classic. You can imagine the civil service going, why don't we pull out the social cohesion policy? It's been sitting there in the filing cabinet. We dust it down every few years and give it another airing, and let's see how it works out. Nothing ever happens. In fact, I think you could maybe construct a case to say things have got worse in terms of social cohesion. And here it is again today. Steve Reed and others in the government making this big announcement. We need to be more understanding, respect each other's values, join in with each other's culture. Good luck with that. And here we go for the umpteenth time. It's a new initiative of something that's been tried multiple times. What do you say?
I think that analysis is very accurate. I would add that what's really interesting in this case is they seem to have given up on the idea of the British nation as a unified polity. So what you see through this is this idea that by bringing individual communities a bit closer together, by throwing money at them and hopefully getting people to like their neighbours a bit more, this will somehow solve things, and we'll end up with hundreds or thousands of communities under the crown. It's not going to work. And I think what's interesting is it's all grounded in this idea of pushing values and pushing, a little bit of money into communities and getting people to paint murals on walls. What is actually making the country less safe, less secure, more chaotic and more fractured is real material factors. It's the inflation shock that we're about to have from the war in Iran following an already very high cost of living. It's the high house prices, low wages, caused in great part by mass migration. It's waves of migrant crime. It's the fact that just putting lots of communities alongside each other that don't really have anything in common does create discord. And all of these are real material factors. And the British government that we currently have in the state is just not willing to do anything about those. So we get this kind of policy where they feel they've got to be seen to be doing something. And it will fail.
It will indeed, and it's interesting what you said at the beginning there, David, that this idea of kind of, the best of British and, we're all British and be British, let's at least aim to be British, that's kind of gone, and they've just subtly changed the tone of this.
Yeah, and there's a really interesting bit, one of the comments that David Lammy has given, is he said this is about a patriotic renewal of our communities. Communities don't grow stronger and closer by accident. They need support to thrive. Well, the thing is, actually, English villages, Welsh towns, Scottish towns, all did grow into communities entirely naturally, didn't need the government to do it. What is being admitted there very quietly is actually when you create these forced communities where you throw people from all over the world who don't share culture or faith or language into an area, those groupings won't form naturally into communities. And it's quite interesting. I think the government is starting to accept that fundamentally multiculturalism doesn't work.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it would be, I suppose no politician, David, it's certainly not one in government, is going to ever stand up and say, this multiculturalism thing has just failed. We've got lots of people from different cultures, but the idea there's sort of any kind of cultural parity is, in certain areas, not all, is clearly a myth. And no one will say that out loud for fear of being accused of, I suppose, either being divisive, defeatist, whatever they want to call it. They just won't say that. And, when you look at some elements of, and I'm bound to pick up on the Islamic element because it's the second biggest religion in the country, that would be clearly the go-to example for that reason, if no other. Then I think we could see a lot of examples there where it would be improbable, if not impossible, that anybody would be adopting bits of that culture and suggesting that that's the way, sensible way forward to get us all into one kind of kumbaya massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, some belief systems and cultures are inherently exclusionary of others. You can't simultaneously be a Muslim and a Christian. There are different rules, different requirements. And I think also there may have been a time where people could integrate. And if we think about waves of migration into the US in the 19th and 20th centuries, those groups did eventually integrate after some time. I suspect now, in the era of the smartphone, integration is either impossible or close to impossible, because groups which move to the UK have infinite contact with their families, their friends back home. There's no impetus to integrate. And when we have particularly large groups of these new communities coming here, they do tend to stay amongst themselves. And so I think if integration ever was possible into one new nation, I don't think it is with the kind of migration mix we have now and the technology we have now.
Yeah, indeed. David, on that point, thank you very much. Always great to have you on with us. David Shipley, investigative journalist.